Hello, hello, hello. I believe we should be live. G'day, g'day. Ben here. How you doing? Just get the chat up on my phone so I can monitor what's going on. How is everybody? Hope you've had a good couple of weeks since we last did a live stream. Where are we? It's not coming up on my phone yet. There it is. Perfect. All right. Let's get the volume down. All right. That way I have the chat on my phone. Makes it really easy for me to see what's going on. Live chat. There we go. All right. What's been going on in your world? I know that I know sort of what the VIPs have been up to, but everybody else who's not in the Patreon VIP group, then I'm not sure where you've been or what you've been up to. But we've certainly been getting photos of all things macro, which is good to see with the VIP challenge. We'll have a look at some of those very, very shortly. So on that note, let's start by thanking the Patreon, the VIP group, which is very important. Photographers are the people that bring you the On Three Legs channel and support the channel. So if you want to become a Patreon and join our private online VIP group, head to patreon.com/on3legs. The link is in the description around this video, so you'll be able to find that there. Let's see who we've got in the chat. All right, g'day Tim McCuster from Florida. Brian, good morning. I'm guessing the mornings are starting to cool down a little bit down south. Same for you too, Izzy. G'day Tim. Tim Trim up north. Greg West, g'day. Mike, g'day. Mike Healy. Who was that? Big Ice, g'day Chris, how are you? Photographia, which is Greg, g'day. Aussie Paul, g'day. Chance, Therese, good to see you all back again. The regulars turning up for the Pixel Chatter show. Now I will say as I start off, a real a drop off in the amount of images I'm getting for critique. So I'm going to encourage you right now to send me in your image for image critique. And the way that you do that is you can email me through a image at ben@on3legs.com. That's with the word 3. Once again, down in the description. You can send me something through the Facebook Messenger system. And it can be a Dropbox link, I don't mind, but make sure it's no password on it. And send me through your images for critique. So I have a couple for this week's show, but then it's a bit of a drought until the next one. So I need you to send me in some images so I can have a look at those. G'day. Good to see everybody here. What's been going on? What's been going on in the world of photography? Anybody got new photography gear? Always interesting to see. As I sip out of my Pixel Chatter cup, and yesterday was cooking on the barbecue and did that, tasting something as I was cooking it and burnt the roof of my mouth. Have you ever done that? It's never pleasant. And as I sip my hot tea, I can feel where that blister is. Just how it happens. All right. So this week is the last week where we will be starting at this time. We'll still be starting at 9:30, but our clocks go back an hour. Tonight because our daylight savings finishes now. This is relevant for those of you that are not in New South Wales or Victoria, in Australia. If you're in other parts of the world, but I'm hoping, because every time I go, the one thing that I have wanted to get snow on the top of Cradle Mountain. And when I was there last time, I got some snow, but it was a very, very light dusting, and it just looked like a bit of icing sugar. So I want a bit more than that. I know I'm being picky, but I've been there several times, and I want that particular shot. Alrighty. So Big Oz says, I was a chef for 20 years, lost count how many times I burnt my mouth. Yeah, I should know better, right? I do it all the time. I was just cooking some turkey steaks and wanted to just quickly taste them, make sure they're okay. The joy of living in the Northern Territory, says Aussie Paul, nothing changes. Yeah, except, in winter, doesn't it get colder at night? Otherwise, just hot all the time. Oh, good stuff. Spanner has joined us. G'day, Steve. Izzy, good day, good day. No time changes in Arizona also. Yeah, I actually really like daylight savings time. So as photographers too, there would have been a few of you that were enjoying the late sunrises, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure you would have been enjoying those late sunrises. Okay, so let's get stuck into it. Oh, by the way, if you do want to come to Tassie with me, I didn't finish off on that, did I? There is a link somewhere down in the description. We are going in about 4 weeks to Tasmania. So, last year we had plenty of people come last minute. There's nothing wrong with doing that. All you got to do is book your flights to Launceston. From there, get there a day early, stay somewhere. We'll pick you up in the morning in our bus, take you to Cradle Mountain. You don't have to worry about any of the accommodation up there, any of the food, any of the transport. We have got it sorted. Even the national park passes, you name it, we have everything organised for you. So you just come along and take some photos. Cold as 19 degrees, yes. I've been putting the heater on overnight here in Sydney in the last week, here on and off. Crazy. Alrighty, so one of the things that we started doing in the VIP group was an editing challenge. And I'm going to show you the last one we did. So the last one I chucked up a D850 file that I shot into the sun and really underexposed things. I'm just going to put that up. All right, so here was the image that I put up for the VIPs to editing. Now, the editing challenge is not judged in any way. It is simply me uploading a raw file for the VIPs to edit, and so we can get a feel for different people's styles. Now, this is the original raw file in JPEG form to make it so I can upload it onto Facebook, but I haven't done any changes to this. So this is the original exposure out of the D850. You can see very dark down here in the foreground. You can see a bit of sun flare here on the rock over here. You can see a dust bunny on my sensor here. So the idea now is we're going to have a look and see what everybody else was doing with it. So Paul Goody, what did Paul do? Definitely got rid of that dust spot. So I started with basic noise reduction and sharpening in Lightroom, then small crop and spot removal, and use curves for brightness, color, and contrast in Photoshop. Lovely. Beautiful. Next one, Greg West. So you can see pulling a bit more shadow out here. And you'll see in this one a little bit of cloud. I really like this one actually. It's probably my favorite. He said, okay, so some may be over the top editing, but firstly, basic adjustments in Capture One Pro version 12 to balance the image, increase shadows, recover highlights, export to Photoshop, basic cleanup, remove dust, smart raw filter. And we're encouraging people to put all this detail in there so everyone can learn from each other. He's put there fine-tune color balance, sky replacement. And I think you've done a really good job of the sky replacement to add some cloud detail. And if you watch the vlog on this video, it was one of the things that I did whinge about was that there was no cloud in the sky. And normally when I shoot, if there's cloud, I'll shoot towards the sun. If there's no, I'll shoot away. But in this location, I had no choice but to shoot towards the sun. Color dodging using sunset colors selected from sky, mask using luminosity masking, photo filter, also luminosity mask for the highlights, tweak the levels, and then added a vignette. Cheers, Greg. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I liked it. I liked the way. If you have a look at the original, there's the original there to that one. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Alrighty, here we go. This one here with the Paul Redmill. Some of it fight for the one a bit too blue, but I like the colour. Yeah, I like it as well. Nicely, and increasing all of the exposure and the contrast in the foreground, which is a nice touch. Brian Willett, editing camera raw, did lens correction, Adobe landscape, profile, contrast, highlights and shadows. So he's got all his measurements there. Remove the dust spot and the sun glare, well spotted. I wondered how many would spot the sun glare. Curves layer, then masking the water darker. Nice. You can see how you can bring up all the details and the shadows from a raw file too, which is cool. And that's it. So not too many people participated in it this week, but really good to see the difference. Everyone's different take. There's no right or wrong, but I think it's good just to see how everybody goes about adjusting a raw file because, yeah, it's good to see. Good to see. Alrighty. So there you go. Well done, everybody. Nice to see those. Just looking at the chats here. Steve says, loving the sleep in, not looking forward to winter. Yeah, I actually, I don't like winter because it's cold. But there are parts of winter that I do like. And I think this time coming into winter, so autumn, the lead up to winter, I think I enjoy the sunrises more than in the summer. But maybe I think they're longer and they can usually be nicer. Alrighty. Let's move on, eh? Okay. So that was the editing challenge. Now, one of the things that I did in the VIP group during the week was I talked a bit about personal locator beacons, and I thought it would be a great topic again for the live show today. If you missed that, and why you would want a personal locator beacon. Back in 2017, I think it was, 2017, I was down at a place called Camel Rock, south of Sydney, and I had gone to a location called Horsehead Rock for a bit of a recce, just with my phone, so I could see how easy or difficult it was to get there. It's not the easiest place to get to. And after some rock hopping, I got there, thought, all right, I'll go back there for sunrise. And on my way there in sunrise, I fell down a 10-foot cliff and thought I had broken my ankle. I couldn't put any weight on it. I had to put my camera bag down, and I couldn't get out of the location where I was. I went to look at my phone, and the phone had no service. And I had contemplated previously, having been a pilots in our aeroplanes, we have things called ELTs, which is an emergency locator transmitter. And in the event that you have to, land somewhere undesirable, in other words, force land in a paddock somewhere, or you're going to have to ditch in water, or even if you crash, they go off automatically. These things send out a signal that allows you to be tracked, called an ELT. And over the years, we've seen these things get used in other applications. So there's EPIRBs, which is a radio beacon for boats, but they're usually a bigger device with a big aerial and a bit clunky. And then they developed these several years ago. These are called personal locator beacons. And these are very light beacons that you can carry on your person, and if something goes wrong, you can set them off and people will come and track you down. So this one here is the beacon that I got, not just for when I'm out with my camera gear or bushwalking, but also on the motorbike, because I do a little bit of motorbiking, and that was my security, if you like, if that was to happen again. And I've also got this one here, which is called a Garmin InReach, which I bought because it has a bit more functionality. Now, the reason why I bring this up is one of the VIP crew, Mike Healy, who's in the chat today, I've seen him there this morning. He was out and about doing some photography, and quite often as landscape photographers, we end up in locations that, is slippery rocks. There could be things to fall down. You could be on your own. And I don't think we always think about the dangers or the risks that we are taking as photographers. Now, this is not the first time I've fallen, this fall that I had. And, I've fallen a few times before, but I think I've just been really lucky that the falls that I've had have been very minor, maybe a bruise or two, a bit of broken camera gear, but I've gotten out of there without any great issues. And this was the first time that I seriously hurt myself and needed someone to help me. Now, I was lucky. I was thinking about how am I going to get out of where I am, and another photographer was coming in to shoot sunrise. They saw me because I had my headlamp on and asked if I was okay. I said, I'm actually not. Can you help me out? And they helped me get back out from where I was, and then they could go and shoot the sunrise. I probably held them up from the best light, but that's how it goes. Hey, we help each other out. So I think sometimes we put ourselves in situations where we need something. So I'm going to encourage anybody who is a landscape photographer that gets off the beaten track out of phone service to think about, at the very minimum, getting one of these little beasts here. This is a personal locator beacon. If you get into trouble, you simply raise the antenna. It has a little antenna on it here. You raise this up, and then you open this flap up and you set it off. Now, the good thing with these is that the battery in them lasts a long time, right? So once you buy them, this is, I don't know how old it would be. I think it's about 5 years old now. It wasn't brand new when I got it. But the expiry date on the battery is May 2021. So it's got another year in it. It never has to be charged. And then when the battery expires, you just get it replaced. And that's one of the biggest benefits with this beast here. The other benefit is that once you buy it, there's no subscription charge to keep it. And you'll find that with other devices, like the Spot Tracker or this Garmin InReach, you're going to be up for monthly fees to have it so it works. And that's a downside. But in return for that, you get extra features, and we'll talk about that in a second. So the PLB is sort of the starting point. Battery doesn't expire and works relatively well. Needs to be upright like that. It doesn't float. That's why there's neoprene cases on it, because that makes it float, and is easy to use. And every month they suggest you test it. I don't test it every month because that eats the battery up. But I do test it before I'm going to use it. And to test it, there's a test button on it. They like you doing it in the first 5 minutes of the hour. And the reason for that is this actually transmits a signal on a frequency which is 121.5 megahertz, and that gets transmitted out to commercial aircraft. And that's who will hear your emergency signal, and then they'll use that to track you should you go missing. Now, once it is activated, they notify your local search and rescue, and typically, like in Australia, the way it works is you register your phone number along with other contacts' phone numbers, and they'll try and ring you first. But if you don't answer, then they'll start ringing other people, and then they'll start coming looking for you if they think that you're missing. This one here, the Garmin InReach, is a little bit different. This I bought because I wanted to have the extra functionality on my motorbike of being able to send an SOS without it being like a life or death situation. With this, if you send an SOS, search and rescue is coming to find you, and there may be a big bill attached to that. Not sure, but certainly you don't want to be sending rescue helicopters out if something minor has happened, like your camera battery's flat, or you're going to be camping an extra night than you thought. This one here, the good thing with the Garmin InReach is this has SMS functionality through satellite. So even when you don't have phone service, you can send and receive text messages. And now, just like a sat phone, there's a cost to this. Now this one here, you've got a few different choices after you buy it. To buy it initially is about double or triple the price of one of these PLBs. But once you've got it, you pay an activation fee, and then you can choose whether you want to pay an ongoing monthly fee. So if you're going to use it regularly, then you just go on a monthly plan. If you're going to use it irregularly, you can sort of activate it when you need it. And that's how I've got mine set up. So I pay an annual fee of about $30 Australian to have it. And then whenever I'm going out, you can activate it for a minimum of a month, and you can decide how you want to activate it. And essentially, the more you pay for your activation, the more free messages you get sent, and the more free tracking points that you get. So I find that I just put it on the minimum monthly amount, and I'm only going to use it if I need to. Now, if, for example, I'm out on my motorbike and I get a flat tyre and I can't get it fixed and I'm on my own, I can at least message someone and say, hey, here's my problem. Can you send somebody in with a tube or a tyre, or somebody who can fix this for me? If I get into real trouble and I hurt myself, you can do the same thing as the other one. You just open this flap up, you hold that button down, and it sends off a sorry, I'm just going to show that. It sends off an SOS signal like the other one does, and the same thing happens. So they're both very good, but as a landscape photographer, I think a lot of photographers don't think about it, and we've had photographers go missing off the coast before, and I always wonder if they had one of these devices, would they still be around? Because you just, if you're being swept off the rocks, maybe it's possible that you could set something off and get someone to come and see you. Alrighty. If you've got one of those, I'd be interested to hear too. If you do have one, let me know, because something that I didn't think about until after I had my fall, which is not the right time to be thinking about it. Oh, it's more drinkable now. The temp has dropped. Thank goodness. All right, let's go through the VIP challenge. So this week, the VIP challenge was macro. And that was picked by our previous challenge winner, Therese Elsie. I'll put this up on the screen here. Alrighty. I see Aussie Paul says, if you send the SOS, you better be in some poo-poo. Emergency service don't take false alarms lightly. The cost of activating police, ambulance and rescue is extensive. Now, I can imagine. I can only imagine. Alrighty, so Therese Elsie chose macro. Let's go through the different macro shots. There's some great shots in here. And then we'll have a look at who the boss picked as the runner-up or the honourable mention and then the winner. And the winner, by the way, will be choosing the next theme. All right, Greg West here. Spotted this tiny little fella having a meal in Queensland silver wattle in our backyard. Nikon 105mm macro. ISO 100, 1/25th of a second f8. Very cool. Very cool. Feather Soft Reflections by Therese Elsie. It's really nice. I'm not sure how you did those reflections. Is that on an iPad or something? I've heard of you doing this on an iPad. Interested to hear. Matt Sandquist. Well, spring is just standing on the doorstep over here, so not many flowers and insects yet, so I played around at home a little. Yeah, cool shot. Not sure what it is, but it's cool. Matt said had to go to the Botanic Gardens for this one. Very cool. Very botanical. Therese Elsie, the fly that didn't. Very cool. Brian Willett, no, it's not dust in the way the caps have been moulded. Check out that, eh? The colourful keyboard. Therese Elsie, Stingers on the Sand. This is a blue bottle stinger. Horrible stingers. Probably not going to live much longer unless the tide takes him back out. Tim Trim, Stony Creek Frog, ready to pounce. Nice. Years ago, I did get some shots of a frog when I was camping somewhere. They're pretty cool, aren't they? Very cool things to photograph. Very reflective, though, aren't they, with that moist body? You've done well there, mate. Shell of the Sea Urchin with incredible patterns. So this was Ren Thielen. It's quite a cool shot. So this was shot with a D7200 50mm 1.8 with 38mm plus a 15mm extension tube. So that's how he's got so close. 1/240th of a second, f11 ISO 100 with the off-camera flash setup, which I can show you in a second because he posted a picture of that as well. Ren Thielen, another great shot, the throat of an orchid flower with the same setup. F22 ISO 100, 1/200th of a second with his off-camera flash setup. It's pretty cool, isn't it, when you can get that close into something? I love macro. Dennis Stewell, D850 105mm Nikon macro, spring flowers, lovely. Dennis Stewell, more flowers, nice one. And more flowers, once again, probably the same setup, nice one. Dennis again. Brian Willett. These are cool. The Hoya flower. That's a very cool shot. Some of the little details you don't notice until you look at a macro shot. Tim Chim with his frog again. Nice close front shot. Beautiful. Tim Trim, thought I'd better tear myself away from frogs. So a tree fern frond ready to spring. Yeah, I love this one. I love these tree fern fronds. I've been trying to find one to photograph for a long time that's sort of growing out of the ground. So I'm hoping when I'm back in Cradle Mount, I'm going to find one. All right, there we go. There's all the entries for challenge number 41, macro. So let's go to the honourable mention that the boss picked. Is this one here, which is The Stinger by Therese Elsie. Boss really liked this one. Well done. Nice close shot. And the boss picked this one as the winner. Well done, Ren Thielen, for his sea urchin close-up. Looks like, I don't know, like another planet or something, doesn't it? It's incredible, the detail in that sea urchin skeletal. whatever you want to call it. It's not really a shell, is it? Because I suppose it is a shell. It's I think it's the skeletal or the skeleton of a sea urchin, maybe. Very cool. So, Ren, you need to pick the next theme and let me know what it is in the next 48 hours. But well done. Well done for taking out the challenge. And well done to everybody who entered and got their cameras out. I'll just quickly show you Ren's setup, because I do have a photo of that here that I can show you. For those of you that are interested in how he's got his camera set up. Let's do that. I'll just cross across to there. Let's do that. Here it is here. So this is Nikon 7200 with the 50mm 1.8 lens on it. And he uses his extension wings. His extension rings. And then you can see he's got a cable to join the flash to the camera. The off-camera flash cable. And yeah, it gives you an idea of some of the things that you can do if you want to set your camera up for macro. And I'm still playing around with my off-camera flash and my macro setup, and I hope to have a chance to go out and do a vlog of me sort of learning how to use it a bit better. But getting some good results already, which is good. So there you go. All right. So well done. To enter these competitions, by the way, you need to be a VIP. And we have a very important photographer Facebook group that you join once you become a Patreon. So if you can head across to patreon.com/on3legs, and that's where you can become a Patreon for as little as $2 a month. And you get to join our private Facebook group, which is full of amazing people, amazing photographers. A lot of chit chat goes on in there, and yeah, we're having a lot of fun in there. Always good. I like the group. It's my favourite group. A bit biased. It's my favourite group of all to be in, because it's just small and very controlled. We don't let anybody in that hasn't become a Patreon. So it's sort of gated, if you like. It's like a gated community. None of the nutcases can get in, can they? Except for the nutcases that are in there, and they're good nutcases, photography nutcases. Alrighty, so there we go. Let me check the chat and see what's going on in the chat box, and then we're going to jump onto some image critique. Let's have a look. The other thing that I haven't seen anything for a long time is the worldwide sticker board behind me. So I'm contemplating pulling that down and putting something else up there. God, my eyes are getting worse and worse. I have to move my phone. I don't know if anybody else has got long enough arms for their phone, but I'm finding that as I'm getting older, I'm very lucky. I'm 46 and I only got glasses last year. Both my parents have glasses. My daughter has glasses, but I haven't had to get them until just recently, and I need them for reading. But anything too close and it's just blurry. Getting old. Alrighty. Weather is starting to get warm. That's 67 Bailey. I know where you are. Obviously not in Sydney. Tim Paris? Paul, g'day. Paul Goody. Chancellor. So you guys are having a chat. Bose Beaver says he's late. Yeah, originally, Bose, the algorithm in the chat box didn't like your your swear word. I had to approve that. Then I see you then post it again straight afterwards, because I must have told you, but I approved it anyway. I don't mind that word. Chance, chatting. Where are we? On a mirror, says Therese, for that reflective photo. So the one that was the feather, the good stuff. Quite a good effect, isn't it? I like the way you've done it. I've seen people doing it on iPads before as well. An iPad that is switched off works really well. Bose Beaver, just invested in OMD, very happy with it. What is your opinion about Micro Four Thirds System Ben dying or alive and kicking? I think they're alive and kicking. You know what? I think what's going to happen in the next 10 years is DSLRs will die. And I know that's controversial, but why have something that has old technology in it? I mean, it's like driving a car with a steam engine just because, you know, you can't make that change. Or, you know, using a horse and cart instead of having a car. Like, eventually everything shifts. Now, it can take a long time for people to move to new technology. But mirrorless, to start with, is better from a few different perspectives. I'm not going to say image quality, but better from the fact that you don't have as many moving parts. Because if you think about a camera, that moving part of the mirror box is quite a delicate bit of gear. So I think that over the next 10 years, we're going to see DSLRs disappear. I think manufacturers will slowly stop making them. I'm going to say that the D850 will be my last mirrored camera. After using the mirrorless cameras, I think once the Z7 and Z6 system gets sorted, there's more lenses out there, or like the GFX system, I would switch to the GFX 50R in a heartbeat if I can get the right pricing. I just love the image quality and the you know, I think it's still not as versatile as the D850. And I think that's the thing with stopping me. But yeah, I think the Micro Four Thirds is a great option for people that are wanting a nice light setup that's simple. And I think this is the thing, right? Most of us now, if you look at photo printing, very few photos get printed. Very few. I would say less than 1%, maybe less than 0.5%. I'd love to see the stats worldwide, but I'd say very few get printed, and you don't need huge files to put them on social media or to put them on your computer or to look at them on your iPad. And, you know, there's no reason to print your photos anymore if your photo album's on an iPad. I mean, we don't have records anymore. I mean, they're coming back in for those that are diehard retro people. But the reality is, you know, you can have all your photo albums stored electronically in the cloud now. You know, it's a complete backup. You can look at them anywhere. You don't have to carry a box of photo albums around with you. Digital files don't age like paper does. So there's all these benefits that I think are going to change the way we view and take photography in the next 10 years. I really do. So yeah, I'm a fan of these really light mirrorless cameras. I've still got my Fuji X-E1, which I love. Because it's light and it's simple, and that's, you know, it's not Micro Four Thirds, but it's a crop sensor, 12 megapixel I think, or 16 megapixel camera, but it does everything I want. So for a carry around, the D850 is just too much camera just to carry around on, you know, for a family day out. I mean, let's face it, the camera I use most is that one right there. There it is there. That is the camera I use most of the time, the one on my phone. Why would you want any more? Yeah. So Micro Four Thirds is good. Sorry, I just got distracted by something moving outside my window. Just looking through the chat. Salton Sea is cool, but the smell can be bad. Don't know where that is. Must be that conversation still going on in the chat box. Chance says, don't do or have a Facebook account anymore. Fair enough. Yeah, a lot of people are moving away from Facebook. I can understand why. I need longer arms. Yes, I do. The thing is, the boss laughs at me, right? So we'll be in the supermarket, and I've been on a diet. I've got myself about... I haven't really made this very public, but a couple of people asked me about the fact that I am slimming down. I hired a weight loss coach about 9 weeks ago now, and that coach gave me a eating plan and has been holding me accountable to doing exercise every day and eating well. And we go to the supermarket, and I've got to read everything I buy, right? So typically this is actually cleaning solution for my monitor, but you know, the printing on that's really small. I have to put my arm out so far like this that it gets so small I can't read it anyway, and the boss just laughs at me. But I'm trying to read, you know, the sugars and the carbs and what's in the food I'm eating. Crikey. And the eyes are failing. So I'm going to blame that if I eat something that's got the wrong amount of carbs in it. Yeah. What else we got here? Need longer arms here. Where we go. Tim McCusker says, I don't see it happening for users of big glass 400 to 600mm stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I think, look, there's still people that shoot film, right? So you're always going to get your diehards, always. But I think, I just think there'll be, there'll be people that just embrace it and that's what they'll do. So, mirror up is mirrorless for you landscapers. Yeah, well, I shoot mirror up anyway because so somebody asked me, do I like the electronic viewfinder? I rarely use the electronic viewfinder. And I guess this is, as a landscape photographer, where I come from, is that I shoot everything live view. And the reason I do that is, I guess, for me, I find it easier to focus by zooming right in close on the live view screen and checking my focus. As a landscape photographer, we have all the time in the world. Now, when I shoot macro with my mirrorless camera, I use the eyepiece if I'm hand holding. But if I'm on a tripod like for fungi or something, then I use live view. So I don't use the EVF very often. If I am shooting with the XE1, I just use the EVF, and that's the very first mirrorless camera that Fuji released. And the EVF is a bit laggy, and it's still okay. I find it fine. So, I think that, sometimes you've just got to be okay with using new technology and getting used to it. But the EVF, I find it's fine. Here we go. So Bosby said the reason of buying the Olympus Prime in it and the jacket for street photography, small and lightweight. Yeah. Susan says, how are you going with the DJI tiny video camera? So you're talking about this little beastie here. So this is the Osmo Pocket. How am I going with this? I love it. There we go. So as you can see, it's now, it's on a mode that makes it, but you can change the different modes. I love it. I think it's a really great device. And I hadn't intended to do a review or anything on it, but people are asking me to. So I think I will. I'll do a review on that at some stage. I just bought it for B-roll. So if you see any of my vlogs of recent, any of the slow-mos out of that, and any of the real steady B-rolls out of that. So I've been using it for that. Although I haven't been uploading many videos. I need to get back into editing some. I've got a few in the queue to get done. Love your Olympus gear. I noticed the different looking bin. Thanks, Anthony. It's okay to be blind as a bat. Yeah, well, it doesn't help with photography, does it? Doesn't help with photography. Right now, the ergonomics of full-frame mirrorless are so-so. D850 mirrorless, let's go. Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge is that when you go to something smaller, mirrorless, the ergonomics changes. Aussie Paul says, I'm drooling over the Panasonic S1 and S1R. Yeah, they look good, don't they? They do look good. But I said to the boss at the beginning of this year, I wasn't going to worry about doing any gear upgrades this year. And then I had that friggin' GFX camera. The two of them for 2 months. And I went, oh, God, I would have to get rid of all the Nikon gear to go GFX to justify it. But I didn't want to upgrade anything this year. The D850 is an amazing camera. And I've got all the lenses. I've still got some, because I sold my XT1. I've still got all my Fuji lenses, and I've got the XE1. And I'm still contemplating getting the XT3 because it's a great camera and it's lighter. But I just love the D850. I've got to be honest. I'm loving the Nikon D850. It's a good camera. And for me, it does everything that I want. So there you go. Alrighty. Let's jump into some image critiques. Let's do that. Image critiquing. Just set my screen up for you. Just going to have myself another sip of my tea before it goes cold. Lovely. All right. So this week I've got 2 images to critique. One is sent in by Dennis Stewell, which is the one on the left there, and the one on the right was sent in by Rob Roy. So thank you guys for sending those in. And please, if you have got images to send in to the show for critique, send them in to me. You'll see the link in the description below of where to send those to. I am running out of images, so I really do need somebody to send in some more images to critique on the show, or we won't have an image critique section, which is not a big deal, but I do enjoy doing the image critiques, and I think they're a good part of the show. So let's start off by taking a look at Dennis Stewell's here. When I first saw this as like a thumbnail, I thought, oh, that's interesting, just a little pile of rocks. But then I noticed this road down here with a car on it. Look at this. So that'll give you an idea of the size of these little rocks. That's a car down there, the road. Isn't it funny how perspective is a funny thing with photography? Because that is a big mountain of rocks. So let's start by looking at the EXIF data, and then we'll get stuck into composition and post-processing and see if there was anything that we could improve upon or what I would do. Sorry, I'm just laughing at Greg's comment, which is Photographia Australis. Don't lie, Betty. You really want that Fuji rangefinder. Yeah, the 50R, the GFX 50R. Yeah, I could definitely go one of those. So, from a let's have a look at the technical details. This was shot by Dennis Stewell, and he has shot this on a Nikon D7200 ISO 100 with a 18 to 140 millimeter lens at 95 millimeters, 1/500th of a second at f5.6. Aperture nice wide open. So ISO is good, 100. Always shoot with the ISO as low as you can go. And I think that's something that's really important in any photography, is trying to get your ISO down as low as you can go, because you want to make sure that you're minimizing your risk of noise, and that's how to do it. Shot at f5.6. We'll have a look at that in a second, because I think you've got to be careful if you want to make sure everything's in focus. And to me, it looks like the focal point was this rock in the foreground, and the background may or may not be sharp enough, but we'll have a look. I think it is, but because of the distance, I think it's okay. But you just got to be careful when you're shooting at those apertures. The other thing is, you're really, with every lens, there's like a sweet spot, and it's typically not that wide open or really closed down. I'm talking about the aperture, right? So always think about that when you take a photo. If you can shoot somewhere between, I don't know, f9 and f13, typically you'll find you'll get the best out of your lens. Now, I'm being very generalistic there because it does depend on the lens and the quality of the lens. But these lenses that are the go-to lens for wide angle through to a zoom, like an 18 to 140, these lenses have been built to try and do many things. And they don't do any of those things exceptionally well. They do them well, but they don't do any of them exceptionally well. And this is one of the downsides of a kit zoom lens, or any type of zoom lens. I've got the 28 to 300mm lens for the D850, and it's okay, but it's the jack of all trades, right? And when somebody does a lot of things, or something does a lot of things, it usually doesn't do any of them exceptionally well. It just does them all good. And so it's something to be mindful of. So if you're shooting with something like a 50mm 1.4 prime lens, or a 24mm, or something like that, 105mm prime lens, typically it's built to do that really well, and you'll get a better result out of that. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing your aperture and you're shooting, is that these lenses will start to see side effects of stopping down or opening up. And both of them have different side effects, but opening right up, you will get soft edges. Stopping right down, you will get diffraction. So just something to think about when you're doing this. And that happens with any lens, by the way. So you want to make sure though, that on these lenses that are trying to do everything for you, you keep an eye on that. Otherwise, everything else is good. We can look at the histogram here. You can see the histogram looks nice and even. Everything's in the middle, so that's a well shot image. Let's jump into the develop module, and I'll just go back to that's in fit. So we can see here there's a couple of things happening that I like, but it's a lot of mountain, isn't it? Like, so it's pretty hard to get my head around what's going on. There is a road here, and I'm imagining that road comes up here somewhere. I'm not sure whether it's visible past that point or not. I would have been tempted to try and move around a little bit to try and get this road so it was more visible, maybe. And I don't know if these rocks are like a landmark that you're trying to photograph. I mean, this is a huge mountain. It's crazy huge. So yeah, I think that the composition could have been better. Maybe a bit more sky. I just feel like it's a bit too cropped in, and I'm feeling like I want to see more. And you were shooting with a wide-angle lens, so why not open it up and let us see more? On that note, though, I do like this leading line. You see how Dennis has got the, where the land meets the rocks here. And you can see how soft it is here in the corner, by the way. Now I've zoomed in. And that is one of the byproducts of shooting at that wide open aperture. But I do like the way that leading line comes in and, leads our eye into this image. One of the things with these sort of compositions, you can move a little bit to the left or to the right, and you can get something really quite different. So don't be afraid to move around a bit and try different things. But yeah, very soft in the corners, extremely soft in the corners. You might notice that now, Dennis, that I've said that. And that is a result of shooting at f5.6 with that lens. Yeah, definitely very soft in the corners. Very soft. So you see how soft it is here. I don't know how well you can see that. Right, there's this here. And if I go into the middle here, you'll see how much sharper it is. Okay, soft down here. Soft up here. Okay, direct result of shooting at f5.6. So these are the things that you've just got to think about when you're taking your photo. So from a composition point, not much that I would change. That road, maybe I could do something to make it so, there's not, that sky's almost distracting because there's not enough of it. So maybe we could really feature the road and that mountain and the contrast between the two colours. Maybe something like that. Let me just move that around a bit. Probably get a bit more of that road in. Not sure what to do here. Just trying different things. Maybe something like that. I don't know. And then I think it's lacking in the contrast. So just a bit of contrast. Those highlights are really overpowering on these rocks here. So I would just pull those highlights back a bit. And let's try a bit of dehaze. Always works well in this type of scene. So you can see how that's dropping that. Probably a tad warm. What time of the day did you shoot this? Let's have a look. Yeah, right in the afternoon, 1:34 p.m. So that's the other thing is, this time of day is a tough time to be shooting because the light can be quite harsh. I would be tempted even to try and, now by cropping it, I'll get rid of those soft corners. I would vignette these corners a bit. So you can do that down here, and you can use effects. You can do a post-crop vignetting. So see how I can vignette the corners a bit, just to bring the focus into the middle of the image. And then grab a clarity brush. Let's get some clarity. And let's grab a brush, get some clarity going on, put that exposure back where it needs to be. And just, give these rocks a bit of clarity. And maybe the road, just to give it a bit of something else. Just maybe drop the exposure down a little bit in that area. Just dodge and burn a bit maybe. There's all sorts of things you can do to liven it up. There we go. So let's have a look at a before and after. Just a few changes there, before and after. You can see the difference of the dropping the highlights has actually got rid of the blown highlights in the back of this. He's got the reflection of the sun on the back of the car. Not that that's not very noticeable. But see that the difference in the contrast clarity, what it does, and just, yeah, I mean the car's good for scale, so I like the fact the road and the car's in there. But yeah, I just felt that it was all a bit tightly cropped, and now I know I've cropped it tighter, but I'm trying to do something with it that appeals to me. Once again, there's never a right and a wrong. This is just me, what I would do, how I would shoot. I've got a really bad habit of shooting everything with my wide-angle lens, and whether you call it a bad habit or not, that's just what I do. But I think it's a bad habit because I don't play around with other things. I'm always shooting wide, and that's what appeals to me. So it's interesting to see other people's shots where they shoot with things a bit closer in, because I don't tend to do it. So yeah, nice shot, Dennis. Thanks for shooting that shot and sending it into us. Good to see. And hopefully those few tips help you out, help everybody out, because that's what it's all about in the image critique. All right, the next one I've got, I'm going to share with you, is this one here from Rob Roy. And just love these shots with the snow. Very jealous of this location. Would love to go and visit this place. I just love these trees. These pine trees or whatever they are. Are they some sort of pine? I don't know what they are. I just love the way they look with the snow on them. They're beautiful. All right, so let's look at the technical details, and then we'll talk a little bit about composition, and we'll talk a little bit about post-processing. Although the post-processing on this one is pretty good, but we'll come back to that. So from a technical point of view, this was shot on a Nikon D500 ISO 64, which is good base ISO. Shot with a Takina 11 to 16 millimeter lens at 15 millimeters. So zoomed in. 13-second exposure at f16. Okay, so right up that top end there, f16. So I think, once again, I could talk a bit about aperture. f16, you could have probably shot this at f11, f13 maybe, and still got a good result. The long exposure, I'm not sure why you wanted to do that in this particular shot. Maybe you wanted to get this blurry effect on the water, but it's funny, sometimes these can look a bit funny because of the when the exposure is long on water that's not moving a lot, it can actually be, I don't know, almost strange. The water effect. So just try different things. You could have done with a shorter shutter speed, maybe a longer. Up to you. But put a filter on. Actually, I think this did have a filter on. I did read his notes that he had a 10 stopper on. Yeah, he did. He had a Nissi circular polarizer and a 10 stopper. He's written that down in the comments. Not sure why you were doing that, but anyway, you've done it. One of the things though that is a byproduct of that. Let's jump into the develop module very quickly. Is straight away the first thing I notice is these blurry trees up here, and it's to do with the fact that they're moving around in this exposure, and I think it detracts from the shot because my eye is drawn to that straight away, going, hang on a minute, why is this sharp and why is that so blurry? It's almost like a tilt shift effect the way it's done it. And I think because this is also protected from the wind and the top of these trees aren't. So I would be really careful and revert. The trick that I use, I mean, it's good to be playing around with your big stopper. And I think one of the risks when you have these tools is that you want to use them, right? You want to use them, so you try and use them all the time. I know when I started doing HDR in the beginning, I HDR'd everything. And it didn't work with everything. So if I was going to do a shot like this, I would definitely take a secondary backup shot with a faster shutter speed to make sure whenever I shoot foliage, every single time, I take a faster shot to make sure my foliage is sharp every time without fail. Now the reason I do that is because too often I've got back home to process a shot and I've got a tree that looks like that. Or it could be a fern by a waterfall, or it could be anything, right? So I always take a faster shutter speed one as well, because I know that that's going to happen. The other thing is, you might have found the water was better with a faster shutter speed. Don't know, but that's the first thing my eye is drawn to, unfortunately. And the reason that happens is because this here, even though it's not in the most ideal position, this snow-covered timber tree in the front here, even though it's not in the most ideal position from a composition point of view, and we'll talk about that shortly, it still leads my eye to that. It is the leading light. It's the only foreground. My eye is drawn in from the corner. This here is pointing to an out of focus tree. Just keep that in mind when you compose your shots. I would have gone wider. Once again, I don't know what's off to the right. I wouldn't have shot with my 10 stopper. I would have just gone with my CPL. I think that's a good idea, depending what you're trying to achieve. Now, one reason you would go with this long exposure is to get these reflections, but there must have been a fair bit of wind coming across this water, because even at 16 seconds or whatever it is, let me see, 13 seconds, it's still got quite a bit of movement in it, which is unfortunate, because if this was dead still, the reflections of these trees in this water would have been sublime, absolutely sublime. So that's just my feedback on that particular, use of long exposure. So just be careful. As for the composition, this here in the foreground seems like it's too far to the right, and it all just seems a bit awkward. The other thing to watch out for is separation. Okay, and this is a tip that I got from another photographer years ago, is that sometimes you can just raise your tripod a little bit, and this gap here would increase. It's very close to there, and it can play a weird sort of mind game, because now you've got this weird little area here that's trapped on the right with some other junk down here. I don't know what that is, like a fallen log or something. So you just got to be careful about how you do it. If you took a step back, raised your tripod up, went a bit wider angle, got a bit more sky in, faster shutter speed, it would have been a totally different shot. From a crop point of view, there's just nothing on the intersections of great interest. And it means it's hard to know what to look at. It's a nice scene, but if you really want to take it to that next level, I think just those few changes will make a difference for you when it comes to that shot. The other thing is, I can see this has been disturbed, this snow, and I don't know if it was you or something before you, but just be careful. If it was you, then, I always, when I get somewhere, I'm very careful not to step in the foreground at all, or put anything in the foreground until I know where I'm going to shoot. And this might not have been you, might have been somebody else, might have been an animal or something, but yeah, just something to keep in mind. And maybe that's why you've cropped it so tight as well. But sometimes you just got to, accept that you're not going to get the shot that you want because of footprints or something. Now, if it was animal footprints, that could be quite interesting too. That could be a really nice leading line. If it's human footprints, it depends how messy it is as to whether or not it works well. If it's a photographer been standing there for 5 minutes mucking around, then it usually just mushes it all up. Not that I have this problem in snow very often, but certainly in sand or dirt or something like that when I'm out on a shoot, that can play havoc on me. The only other thing that I would mention is it's quite blue over here, and once again, this is just balancing the white balance out a bit. Probably just needs a tad of warming up. I can see it's quite blue in the snow, so you can try and use the picker to find something that is relatively neutral, which is never easy in something like this. Let's find something that's got a nice grey tint to it. Maybe that there. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. Maybe there. That's getting closer, but you can see it wants to warm it up a tad. And having a calibrated monitor, I can tell you that now looks a lot whiter than what it did before. If I look at the before and the after, it just looks quite blue compared to white. And snow is white, so just be mindful of that when you're processing your image. The white balance is so important. If you don't have a way to calibrate your monitor, it can be difficult. But one of the things you can do is put the image onto something like an iPad or iPhone or smartphone, and they're typically pretty good, I find, for previewing images. Typically pretty good. So that'll give you an idea anyway of whether it's pure white or not. The other thing is you can create a pure white square in Photoshop and then use that square as an image, like export it as an image and use that as a comparison. So I don't know if you've seen that in Lightroom. You can do like a reference image and the actual image if you select two images. So if I select two images down here and then select this one here, I can then put a reference photo in. So let me go back to the photo. And drag that one there. I can look at this as a reference. So if this was my white square, I could look at it right next to this one. And then I could, see how I was going with my reference compared to that. So if I had pure white here, even though if my monitor's not calibrated, I would know that this square was pure white. And I could just match the white to that as closely as I can visually, and I'm going to have a relatively good result. Because in Photoshop, you can make a pure white square. It may not look pure white to you, but you'll know by the fact that you've just done it in Photoshop. So there you go. Just a tip for you. Just a little tip for you. So there you go. Thanks for those guys for sending that in, Dennis and Rob. I really appreciate you sending in your images for critique. And as I mentioned before, we are running out of images. So if you want to get your image on the show, I would really appreciate it if you send it in. And that way I have more images to critique. So the link's down in the description of where to send these images to. And that way I can do more image critiques as time goes on. Alrighty, well, let's wrap it up. I think I've done well for time today, unlike some of the other ones where I go way over time. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Anything else in the chat box? No, it looks like everyone's just been concentrating, watching the image critiques. Is that right? Thank you very much for tuning in today. What's everyone got planned for the weekend? Everyone going out to do some more shooting? Go out and get their cameras out? I think I'm going to try and do some macro. It's been we've had some wet weather around in Sydney, and I'm wondering if there's some macro up in the mountains. If anybody's from up in the mountains know if there is any macro, that would be great. Yeah, so Greg has just said color chart out on location. Yeah, that is another way. Take a photo of a grey card. I do have a grey card. The other thing is if you have one of these 5-in-1 reflectors, which I've got here, so I won't get out of the bag because it's a bit big and clumsy. But this 5-in-1 reflector actually has a grey, an 18% grey card as one of the reflectors. And you can just take a photo of that and then you use that dropper and you click on it. That's what the dropper's great for. Camping in the new 4x4. What did you get, Anthony? Share with us. More photos, says Therese. Excellent. Getting out, shooting, getting out with our cameras. Camping. Yeah, should be a nice weekend for camping. Be relatively warm during the day, nice and cool at night. Good camping conditions. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting a 4x4 again. My car lease expires in September, so I'm getting ready to give that back so I can get a nice new 4B. Well, not new. I'm going to get an FJ. So I'm going to get an FJ to join the photography family and go out on expeditions with us for the rooftop tent. That's my plan. Tim says no photo outings planned, but some long barbecue sessions are planned. Awesome. Enjoy, Tim. A Triton. Very cool. Well, enjoy that, mate. Stay safe. Stay safe. And if anyone's got any questions about PLBs, you want to learn more about the ones that I'm using, any of my opinion or ideas, feel free to shoot me that through as well. Still got places available for the Tassie tour. So there's links in the description. All the links are in the description. Make sure you read the description for all the links. If you've enjoyed the show today, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Always appreciate to get your feedback. And that's the way you can give me feedback on Facebook and on YouTube, rather. Hit the thumbs up button, like the video. Let others know you like the video as well. Thanks very much. All right, well, I'm going to sign off now. And hope you enjoy your weekend. Get out there and take some photos. See ya.